We are introducing Arewa Youth Mentorship Program. The AYMP is a collection of Northern Nigeria academics and professionals from different spheres of life who volunteer to offer free mentorship and equip Northern Nigeria youth at all levels with necessary knowledge on career opportunities, scholarship grants, personality building, innovation, among others.
So, Assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Tariq Ahmed. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. And as always, on behalf of the organizing committee, Arewa Youth Mentorship Program, it is really my honor today to welcome you to this session titled Conscious Parenting, Bridging the Gap Between Culture, Religion, and Realities. Now, our topic today is of utmost importance, as with all other topics that we've looked at in the past. Mainly because if you live in the West, you might encounter a number of challenges with respect to differences in cultural parenting or differences in the actual practices. I personally have seen instances where child services or government services taking custody of children mainly because of certain parenting practices which does not conform with the culture or the laws of that particular land. If you live back home in Nigeria, we do know that there's a lot of challenges, especially recently with rise in use of social media. We've seen a lot of challenges, a lot of weird behaviors, a lot of differences in behaviors in our children, and I think really the question is, what do we as parents or as prospective parents can do about this? So today we have invited our mothers, we have invited our mentors, who will share their insight and practical advice on how to apply the principles of conscious parenting in our daily lives. And they would hopefully offer, some tools in order for us to use to handle some of these challenging situations with grace and compassion. So whether you're a new parent who's seeking guidance or an experienced caregiver who's looking to really deepen your relationship with the children, we do believe that this webinar today will provide you with the valuable perspective in order to enrich your parenting journey. So as our agenda today, as always, would comprise of about 4 to 5 different items. First of all, we'll hear from Dr. Akudil, who will welcome our distinguished guest today, and also talk to you about how you can get involved with the Arewa Mentorship Program, either as a mentor or as a mentee. And then after that, we'll hear from, as I said, our mentor, Professor Rabia Salim Said, who would give us a short talk of about 10 minutes. And then later on, we'll hear from our distinguished guest in person of Dr. Hauwa Babura, who would also ponder into the topic today. And then after that, we will have the question and answer sessions where you will be given the opportunity to ask your questions. So you can reserve your questions until the end where you can use the raise hand option, or you could type those in the chat box and we'll make sure we give you the opportunity to ask those questions. So without further ado, I'll call on Dr. Akubu to welcome our guest and, as I said, talk to you how you can get involved with the AYMP. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq. Thank you for the kind introduction. I would like to, on behalf of the AYMP Organizing Committee, of course, and all our mentors, I would like to thank specifically our speaker, Dr. Hauwa Babura, who has agreed to come and talk on this very important topic of conscious parenting. As is the tradition generally, especially in the North, we know parenting is something that we just leave it for the society to do for our children. We just give birth to the children, and we then allow the environment and the society to shape their thinking, their mindset, and all these things. So today we will hear how to be deliberate in instilling your own values and norms to children, especially for us, the young parents and the prospective ones. I think this session is highly remarkable. So I thank you sincerely, Dr. Hauwa, for agreeing to come and share with us. I know very well that this type of talks usually you get paid to do them, you know, but you accepted this invitation generously to come and offer this contribution as your part of societal service, society service, community service. So I think most of our participants, hopefully, they are used to AYMP, but in case you are not, I recommend that you join our social media platforms and watch our past sessions on YouTube. The Ariwa Mentorship YouTube page contains all our previous sessions. So please, you can always refer to them. This particular session too that we are in, I believe, inshallah, it will be uploaded to the YouTube and it can always be referred to because it's something that will never expire, something that we will always need. So I believe also it will be a reference point for all of us. Thank you very much. Also, I would like to thank Professor Rabia, who has always been with us, of course. So needless to mention, but still there is, I think it's worth to still recognize her invaluable efforts. She's a mother and a mentor to all of us. Thank you very much, Prof, for the kind support, despite the weather in Nigeria, but still she is, you know. So thank you very much, Prof. And Dr. Tariq, I think we can commence our program. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, I would also like to reiterate your welcome address. Really, we're really honored to have both our distinguished guests with us today. So thank you very much again for sparing your time to be with us. Now, I think we'll probably start by hearing from Prof. As you've mentioned, Prof has been a mentor with us. She's been mentoring us for quite a number of years now. And so really, thank you very much for that. We're really glad to have you in our midst, Prof. I'll give you the floor for about 10 minutes for your talk. As you know, Prof is a full professor at atmospheric physics at Bayero University, Kano, and has extensive experience in academia and community service. She's held a number of different accolades and has over the years mentored, supervised, taught a number of undergraduates as well as postgraduate, including most masters and PhDs. So thank you very much, Prof. Once again, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. And thank you, Dr. Yakubu Sani Wadil. And I am actually happy to see many male and female audience participants today because it's very important that it's not just the female, but also the male here when we talk about parenting. I want to also seize this opportunity to welcome Dr. Hauwa and thank you as Dr. Yakubu Sani Wadil said, this kind of talks that you get paid for. So we really want to thank you for sparing your time to actually do this pro bono. We have had occasions, not at AYMP, but in some other fora, where people actually do tell us point blank that they cannot give if there is no remuneration. So we thank everyone who has even not just today, but in the past, who have contributed and come in to help us. And the topic itself, conscious parenting. So today, away from what Dr. Tariq introduced me to be as an atmospheric physicist, this is away from that. I am here today as a mother and a grandmother. And I want to use a paraphrase what somebody told me one time while I was finishing a PhD. And he said, a PhD, you get the certificate, to say whatever nonsense you want and you will be qualified for it. But today, not just nonsense, but I believe I'm qualified to say, because as a mother of 4 boys and 2 girls, and a grandmother of 8 boys, 4 boys, I think, and 4 girls as well. So I will be qualified to talk about this conscious parenting. I do not know if I have done an excellent job, but I think I will give myself a pat on the back that I have tried and done the best that I could, because they have turned out not to be a nuisance to the society, but actually contributing to the society. So conscious parenting is very, very important. While the flyer was going around while we were making the flyer visible for this session, coincidentally, I just came across a video, and this video was actually also relevant to what we are going to talk about. And it's this video by Egon Harry, Project Nightfall, and he was talking about the dark future of iPad kids. And in that video, we saw kids as young as 2 years old using the iPad or using the smartphone, and they have become addicted to the extent that if the parents take it away from them, they cry, they throw tantrums, and so on and so forth. And as I was watching the video, it just came to me that with this talk that we're going to give this session, it's actually very relevant, and it is the reality where we find ourselves today. And I say this, and I've said it in many other meetings, that we seem to be luckier than this current young parents, prospective parents, because of this digital age. We didn't have this much problem, because even at the time I was bringing up my children, there was no satellite TV. I remember here in Kano, it was the community TV, which doesn't even come on until around 4 p.m. And then when it comes on, you see the what, and I think it also closes around 10 p.m. or midnight, something like that. So no matter what you want to control, it's easier to control, because the hours that they would spend on the screen is much less. And we didn't have the iPad, we didn't have any of that. So it was easier to have the children go out to play. They were able to play outside. They were able to, get themselves dirty and then come back and then clean up. In that video, what it was talking about was that there were kids who just grew up, just touching the iPad, watching with it, and they have never even seen sand or play in the dirt. So a lot of things that one needs to. So it's like he was admonishing parents to look at what they would do. The iPad or other digital media can be used to help the children develop other skills. And for our environment, I have seen a house where they gave the 3-year-old has an iPad, but what they have done is to make sure that they put in all the Quran, the lower surahs of the Quran, and then this other Islamic cartoon film, the Alif Bata and so on that iPad. All through the day, when the child is going to play with the iPad, whatever they press those are the items that will come up. And you would not believe, at about 3 years old, that child has been able to memorize the first hizb. And it's just so there are advantages to using some of these gadgets in order to consciously parent our children, or this time around, I would say for the young parents to parent their children, because somehow I think I'm out of it now. I can only help to guide the young parents. So I believe that Dr. Hauwa would be speaking to us from some of this angle and many more, and it's important that we learn and we take into our stride all that she's going to. And I want to actually say, Dr. Fauzia Yakase, have your pen and paper ready. You would need this. Our brand new Amaria. Assalamu alaikum. I hand over to Dr. Tariq.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much, Prof. Certainly, I think, Prof, as you've mentioned, you're not just qualified, you are overqualified to talk about this. So thank you very much for that, opening that you've had. We really appreciate it once again. Right, I think we'll just dive straight ahead into Dr. Hauwa's presentation today. A brief about Dr. Hauwa. She is a distinguished educator and visionary in the field of early childhood education. She obtained her doctorate in education from North Central University, San Diego, which focused on early childhood education. Dr. Hauwa's career is marked by her commitment to educational excellence and leadership. She is a human rights consultant and has been acknowledged for her commitment to the field with the prestigious Ambassador for Peace Award. Her work has deeply impacted early learning environment and 21st century childhood development system through her involvement with Harvard Graduate School of Education's program on language, behavior, and the brain and education redesign. With over 15 years of professional experience, Dr. Hauwa has founded and led various educational initiatives, including the Guidance Academy of STEM and Guidance Childcare Center that focus on after-school education enrichment for inner-city students and comprehensive childcare services. Her innovative approach to education is also evident in her creation of teachafrica.com, a platform dedicated to showcasing Africa's educational system and resources globally. Dr. Hauwa's contribution extends beyond the classroom, obviously, into international education, where she has significantly influenced the placement, supervision, and management of foreign exchange students in the United States. And her leadership in teacher training and assessment further underscores her dedication to fostering an environment that support both teachers and students' growth. Once again, thanks for acknowledging our invitation today. I'll give you the floor now, Doctor.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'm having a little bit of network problem, but inshallah, we'll be able to get this going successfully. I would like to share the screen now, if I may. I'm not sure if I'm able to, so I can go over my PowerPoint presentation.
You should be able to.
Yes, you can. You can share.
Let me see. Choose. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
It's about to come up now. We can see your screen now.
It's not good.
We're able to see your screen now. I think you're muted.
Yeah, doctor, you need to unmute yourself. You need to unmute yourself. Okay.
Might be that that's having a bit of challenge with IT. Okay, so yeah, the Zoom should be there.
Unmute. Okay, I think I did.
Yes, yes. So we can hear you now.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I chose this topic, conscious parenting, because of the fact that not just in Nigeria, I believe globally, we are having some misconception, misunderstandings, some issues about parenting because of recent trends in, you know, so many things that has brought about many changes of freedom to societies across the globe. So that's why I have chosen this topic. So this presentation, inshallah, introduces the concept of conscious parenting practices for all age groups. Initially, it was for early childhood education, 0 to 8 years, but I think it goes across. It is a framework of principles and guidelines for best practices in the care and education of young children, birth through 8, like I say, but it can be used all across. And also not just for parents, teachers are able to take this presentation and apply it to their classroom teaching practices. It is grounded in a research on how young children develop and learn and what is known about the effectiveness of parenting education. So hopefully, inshallah,
Right. It's breaking a little bit.
Presentation present the rationale, principles, and optimal learning and development. Yeah, I have a network.
Yes, it seems like it's breaking up a little bit.
Dr. Hauwa, you can switch off your video, I think, since you have already shared your screen. At least it will reduce the need for the bandwidth. Just off the camera.
Go back and turn the video off.
Yes, yeah, turn the video off and continue sharing the screen, and we can listen to your voice.
And if possible, if we can do this, click for the slideshow so that it gets we get it bigger.
Yes, yes, she can do it. She will put it at the transition.
So stop video and then what?
Yes, don't stop the video, then share the screen. We can see the PowerPoint.
Okay.
In full screen mode.
So the screen is still there, right?
Yes.
Yes, it's still here. We can see the screen.
Okay. So hopefully, inshallah, the outcome will be when we have gone through all this presentation, we'll be able to define attributes of developmentally appropriate reflective parenting practices with, can you hear me?
Yes, it's fine.
Yes, we can.
Yes. With intentionality and conscious mindset. We would be able to differentiate the differences between discipline and punishment. We would be able to apply conscious parenting practices to typically challenging children's behaviors and critique your practice examples in relationship to conscious appropriate parenting practices and design guidance as example for conscious discipline practices in your household. Conscious parenting for me, it's like, I don't know if it's a good example, the people who play golf. You just don't go to the field and just throw the ball any which way how. It takes focus and practice. So when we are raising children, we have to focus and practice and be able to like focus and see which direction will the ball go. If it's going to, we have to aim into the right direction. But oftentimes in society, you see that we have a power struggle. We fight between who is in charge and authoritarian or authoritatively. in discipline children, talking to them passively, or just directing them on what to do, how to do it, based upon how we perceive life. I want to connect this conscious parenting with the principles of conscious discipline. So, conscious discipline is really a research based program that helps adults to stay calm enough to see behavior and upset as a signal to teach instead of to punish. So, the idea really behind this presentation is to see the child, taking them from where they are to where they need to be without influencing the redirective of behavior or teaching or training in a more personal way from the parental focus or point of view. So this provides effective strategy for teaching social emotional life skills to children. Conscious parenting focuses on overall parenting philosophy and mindset. It's a discipline that offers specific strategy and technique for managing behavior and promoting social emotional development in children. As you know, social emotional development in children, it's the foundation of lifelong success for any child. Oftentimes, when you see children's behavior deteriorating in life, is because they didn't get support in their social emotional development from get-go. So both of these two approaches complement one another or each other and create harmonious, supportive parent-child relationship, which is what we are going to be discussing. Conscious parenting, as I said, is deeply rooted into conscious discipline, which is a research-based idea by Miss Becky, and it talks about roles of parenthood and relationship for the whole entire being of a child. Relationship from the parents, the society, and lifelong relationships, throughout the child's future. Conscious discipline and parenting focuses in parenting philosophy and mindset. In the conscious discipline, they look at brain into three sections. Of course, I'm not a scientist, so I'm going to try my best to explain this, but they look at the brain in three functions with the executive functioning, where this is a lot of problem solving opportunities occur, wisdom, unlimited skills, and learning takes place. And then the second portion is the emotional state, where the connection looks like, for example, as in behavior, yelling, verbal interaction, talking back. So the child or the adult even is not functioning in their best state. And the last state, which we don't want to be and which we are going to learn how to avoid living under, is the survival state. When you look at the brain function, the survival state is a safety state. In this safety state is where human beings, not only children, resort to hiding because they are not able to function in their executive state or in their emotional state. And this is the state that we don't want to raise our children. And there are factors that contribute to how a child is going to be staying in this survival state and not having a full function quality of life. And some of them would be really the way a trauma affects a child. And when I say trauma, I'm not talking about just traumatic experiences. It could be even stress in the household, maybe constant parents fighting, neighborhood fights, not being able to cater to the need of a child, and the child will just result to be reserved and just living life in a survival state. In this situation, when children are living under the survival state, they are not able to reason, they are not able to distinguish facts and in life, they are not able to learn anything. So basically, you will have a child growing and you are really wasting your time teaching, but that teaching is not impacting the child's life because according to the research and science, no learning takes place in the survival state. So we need to find solutions to develop skills as adults and as parents on how to raise our children to thrive, not just to survive. And thriving takes place in the executive state, survival takes place in the survival state. We don't want to just survive, even though people will be like, I'm surviving, but it's understatement. We need to thrive. We need to find things that are affecting the way we raise our children in their a quest of life. And these things are really, I put them into three categories: religion, culture, and trend. And when I say trend, I'm talking about current trend, whether it be social media trends, technology emerging with so many differences in life, the food we eat, the overpopulated world we're living in, where supply is like the demand and supply are unbalanced, and you see the way crops are growing. A lot of farmers have to resort to food growth hormones to put it in, and those growth hormones are affecting the body of a child even from conception. The parent will eat these growth hormones. It affects their blood, cycle. It affects their emotions and feelings. And research shows us even infants get depression, even inside. And when you are pregnant, your baby can get depression. It's a research from St. Louis University, and when you go and Google it, infant depression, St. Louis University, you are able to get that research and read it. We have cultural, dilemmas, and that culture is not allowing progress or things to change, because usually culture is stagnant, and it's deeply rooted stagnant entity that is not allowing change because of threat. Usually in culture you have a threat of saying this is our culture and we cannot change it. And when things are happening scientifically, body is changing, mindset is changing, and culture is like holding back a progress, then you get a mix of chemistry and all things go haywire. A religion as a Muslim is the only thing that won't change. However, religion is going to have to change in the delivery system. So in our children current trend, we can see example what's going on. I don't want to bring politics, but it's important to talk about what is happening now, because I'm here in Kano, and we have a lot of clash between government, religious clerics, and social media influencers. You know what I'm saying? So this religious practice, we are not changing our religion, Quran and Hadith, but we can change the delivery system. If the way we are sending messages to our children is not reflective of their practice, then we have to find a way to send the message to where they can benefit and we can see impact on our a message of sending our religious teachings. And so these three things together, they are conflicting our children rearing, and they are conflicting our children's mindset in the way that they are understanding. So we have to go through some connections to see choices. And this goes back to early childhood education, because we have to focus on parenting through education. This means parents as teachers, which means parents are to be their children's first teachers. That's no exception in that way. So if parents are to be their children first teachers, what tools do they have to carry forward in this quest? So all areas of development and learning are important. Parents must take that and not to leave anything unturned or behind. How do they acquire those developmental knowledge? Is through learning themselves. Learning and development follow a sequential order. As you know, Bahaushe ya ce ba a haihuwa a ruga da gudu. So in order for us in the beginning, like I said, to take children from where they are to where they need to be, we must follow this sequential order. Development and learning proceed at varying rates, and I just talked about current trends, which is Zamani. Zamani is something that it has been spoken about in the Quran. Zamani is something that has been spoken about even in Hausa culture or any other culture. And we are living today, we are witness of the trends that this Zamani has been putting in front of us as a challenge. A lot of us do not have the tools to raise our children consciously in regards to all of these social dilemmas that we are facing. Development and learning results from an interaction of maturation and experience. Of course, you know that philosophically, all the philosophers of early childhood education, they believe that children learn through experience and they learn through the environment that they grow, and through the adults they mimic adults, and all of that science and philosophy. That is what we believe, and that is how we come about, and that is how we learn. So early experiences, they have a profound effect on development and learning of children. Development proceeds towards greater complexity for self-regulation. Now, I want to talk about self-regulation. Adult must have tools to learn how to self-regulate. If the adult does not have a tool to self-regulate, is where you see aggression and what do you call it, aggressive behavior towards raising or correcting children. And when you lose it, you are not projecting yourself in the way that child or children will see the reflection of their misbehavior and learn and practice what they have learned, because you already not in the state of mind to where you can see the behavior and how to regulate it. And that is symbolic or representational capacity that we as parents must to delve into finding resources for self-regulation. Children develop best when they have secure relationships. I don't know if you understand what I mean by secure relationships. As we know, even if you just now finish beating up a child, you as a mother, the child will still come running to you. But later on in life, believe me, those memories will resurface and it will affect the way the child will behave as an adult. So secure relationship has to start from, again, self-regulation from the adult's behavior in the way that they try to discipline their children. And they must understand there are differences between punishment and discipline. And that is where self-regulation comes in the middle. Development and learning occur in influenced by multiple social and cultural contexts, because children learn in a variety of ways. Oftentimes, we make a mistake by thinking we have to teach our kids the way we were taught. The second mistake we make is when you have one, two, more than one child, you tend to compare children. We tend to think the way that my firstborn behaves is the way the secondborn has to behave, because the secondborn needs to learn from the firstborn. While in Islam, we know that Allah created us uniquely and that we're supposed to learn from one another, but we have our own path. Everyone has his own kitab, his own destiny. And that destiny and kitab didn't just start after puberty or after adulthood, it starts from conception. So when we have a child, even from birth, we're supposed to identify that child as an individual baby. This one may give the parents nausea when she's pregnant due to hormonal changes. It might be a boy that does that or a girl. No, this one, she eats a lot, or I mean, a lot of things. But when you all put it through together, you'll be able to see that no, the child is uniquely different from conception. And another thing that I want to talk about, because the reason why I inserted this number 10 is because of our Hausa culture, and because that I am an early childhood education person and I believe in play, learning through play. So play is important for developing self-regulation and promoting language, cognition, and social competence. A lot of times, parents don't think it's important for them to play with their kids at certain ages. So when you go up to where I talk about sequence, we tend to misunderstand sequential growth. Whereas you see us as parents, um, I also want to know if you are guys are with me. Hello?
Yes, we are. We are, Doc.
Okay, because I'm talking a lot and I just want to make sure I'm not talking to myself.
No, we can hear you.
So a sequence in that is you see some cultures, example of our Hausa culture, we will play with our children when they are babies. We will put them up and, toss them up and giggle and do all of that. And as they are growing, we are just slowly but surely like taking away, reserving, making like some kind of reserved relationship. We are thinking that by being serious and just like giving them their space, and this is adult space, and that they are learning better, or that the adult comes up as more mighty or higher or something like that. But in science and research, we're supposed to play with our kids throughout life, because play provides a positive atmosphere and relaxed atmosphere. And even from conception, from birth, play is the best way for children to learn, because it gives them a positive outcome. Development and learning advance when children are challenged. So when children appear to be challenges, we have to think about what we can do to address their needs. Like I said, it's not one size fits all. Parenting is not one size fits all. A lot of times, this is the mistake we make by thinking that the shoe fits all, the size, everything. But that is where we are having problem when we are faced with some kids that are having challenge, whether is attention deficit disorder, whether it's developmental challenges, or even if a child is gifted, a smart child who is gifted beyond their age. We need to reflect and see that just because this side of the brain is advanced doesn't mean this other side of the brain is also advanced. And we tend to not focus in thinking that a child who is able to read fluently at even maybe a primary school level when he's 3 may not be able to tie his shoes, which means his other, like, cognition or developmental stages are not developed. We have to be abreast to all these differences and changes. Children's experiences shape their motivation and approaches to learning. And that ties down to all what I have mentioned from 1 to 11. We have to be able to motivate children if we want them to learn and reflect on their learning. Because the key is not just teaching and learning, it's the reflection of what's taught, is a reflection is of what's learned, and how you will use it for lifelong success. We don't want to train and teach our children for now, instant gratification. Oh, he's so cute, and when we go outside, he behaves. What about next time? What about the other stage? Is the child able to take into practice what you as a parent model for them to use it as lifelong success? So that's how your role as parents, as teacher, will come about. In this, I try to make this presentation interactive. I don't know if it's possible. I have this spiritual development. As a parent, there is no one who can develop the concept of spirituality more than you in your child. Emotional well-being, like I said, you can be the parents who abuse your own child as a baby, as a toddler, as a preschooler. That child will still come back to you. Compassion and empathy, it must be practiced. Purpose and meaning in life. In the Quran, we know that we were told Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not create us except for to worship him. So to worship him is one of the purpose solely for our creation. And in the creation, there is meaning to life. Like my brother, Dr. Woodil mentioned that we are the drivers of our children's lifelong success, but Allah is the one who has the control of their destiny. But the purpose or meaning has to be from exemplary behavior, exemplary action, and who is better to set that than the parent? Formation of a strong character also has to come from parents as teaching their children. Sources of comfort and solace, knowledge of Islamic principles, and knowledge of general well-being and how to live and coexist amongst individuals. Moral guidance, inner peace, resilience, understanding of divine teachings from the Quran, guidance for decision making, development and gratitude of humility, preservation of cultural and religious heritage. This is all what it entails and grouped together that drives parents as their children's first teachers. So I wanted to have interactive active session. If you think is okay to do that, I would like to give anybody from the, people out there an opportunity to take any one of this and give us an example of how uh, it reflects in parenting in your household or you as a parent, for you as a parent, any of this.
Okay. I think what we could do is if participants could use the raise hand option and then we could unmute you so that you can respond to that. I think it would be wonderful to have this interactive session. I can see Mujahid's already raising his hands. Please do remember this is not the Q&A session yet. Your response should be based on what Dr. just mentioned. So choose one and then kind of talk about how you can reflect on that. So Mujahid, I hope you do take a note of that. I'll ask you to unmute yourself and respond to maybe just pick one and then comment on that. Okay. Mujahid, you're muted now. If not, I think probably we'll ask Hauwa Ibrahim. Can you unmute yourself and choose one of these?
Hello. Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. We can hear you, Hauwa.
Yeah. Hello.
I want to talk about emotional well-being.
Right.
I would feel like I'm a victim of this because as I grow up in my family, it's like a trend, like you are not enough, you are not doing enough, like in terms of academic performance, you always have to be the first in your class. You have to top it also. It kind of affects my relationship with people in a way that I always think, am I doing it enough? Am I doing it the right way? And it kind of touches my self-esteem and self-confidence. So, and that's what I'm dealing with now, even though the rate is a bit lower than when I was growing up, but the impact is still there, and I don't want to kind of transfer it to my children. But I don't know if there is a way on how to tackle this.
Thank you very much. Yes, this is one of the ways, you being here right now and going through the presentation, and inshallah, if time permits, my presentation is not long, but towards as I go through it, there are things which we will cover that will help you with to make an informed decision on how you can try to start taking out some of the things that you inherited that are not going to work with your children, because you are lucky you notice that they didn't work for you. A lot of people didn't even notice that until much later in life, when it affected their children or their grandchildren, and then they reverse back to see that, oh, this is as a result of what I've been through. It's like inheritance, you pass it. But behavior can be changed, and behavior is something that we learn, and it does affect our lifelong journey. like someone said, your children will learn what to do when they are angry by watching what you do when you get angry. So it's not even when you get angry or when you are not angry. You just learn that and it becomes like a norm. Sometimes you just do things without even reflecting on the impact that it has on you or it could have on your kids. Thank you. So, guidelines for conscious parenting in regards to composure and assertiveness. How do you create a healthy family and healthy relationships? Because this is all what we are talking about. The health, the state of health, your mindset, the state of your healthy mind. If you are not healthy, in your mindset, in your mental thinking, you are not able to differentiate, like you just said. We are not able to differentiate our self-regulatory tools that we needed to use and exercise when we are raising our kids or correcting them or trying to discipline them. I don't want to say punish them because that's what we try to run away. Because if you use your cards right, punishment will just be really, really at the end of everything. So, first of all, you as an adult, you have to take care of your own mindset, your own healthy living well being. You have to know where to draw the line. You have to know how to reflect on your own practices, on your own state of mind, because when you don't, believe me, the research I told you on depression, America has done a big research on how children's behavior is affected by the environment and the parents that are raising them. And when you go online, you can research Raising America. It's a whole series and it's free. And you can take what will work in retrospect to your religious practice and dump what is not going to be accepted in your religious practice, because they are not Muslim. So some things may not work for you as a Muslim, but many other things, they are practical and research based. So in this research, they also come up with the fact that I told you before, babies get depression. Children get a feeling of when their mother is not happy. There is this hormone that you release when you are happy. And then children get to see from the muscles of their parents' faces. How does a child learn this is my mom? For example, a child will grow up running to his mother, frowning at a stranger. So they can tell when the mother is happy. They just don't tell, they also feel it. They also go through the emotions of your suffering and anger, even though they don't have the language to explain it to you. So your well-being is very important to the way you raise your children and your family. I have to put my computer on a charger, but it takes a second. 1 second, guys.
That's fine, Doc.
Done. Okay. So skills, I'm talking about connections now through encouragement, choices, and empathy. So first, you have to really take care of yourself if you want to create a healthy family and relationships. Then you need skills of encouragement. The skills of encouragement, first, you encourage yourself. You have to move up. You have to be strong enough to have positive charges for you to give back, to give to anyone. And that brings about the power of unity, because you are the uniter. You are the one who will bring all this family together. It's not the father's job or the mother's job. Now we are talking about all encompassing, because a child knows a mom and knows a dad and knows a sibling, knows a grandma, and all of that are separate relationships. But first, there is a sense of unification, of unity before the separation of the relationships. You need a skills connection through encouragement. You need skills of empathy, power, or free will. And now I want to ask someone too, in less than a minute or a minute, to talk about what do you think is the power of free will. We all know as Muslims that Allah has created us with the brain and gave us free will to choose right or wrong, to do this and that. Do you think as a mother, you have the power to choose free will for your child? That's the question. If anyone wants to raise their hands and be able to talk in less than a minute or so, please, so we can all be interactively engaged.
Right. Tahir Mainika, can you unmute yourself and respond to that?
Okay, thank you so much. Even though the questions addresses do you think as a mother, but here is a man talking. I think the direct answer to that is yes. And the reason why I said yes is, as a mother, even though you might have in mind what you want your child to be, but of course you can't give what you don't have. So the power of free will it in and of itself give you the chance to be able to deliver in the best way you could for your own child.
Okay, that's a good one too. So in this regard is really also I'm trying to relate a point of acknowledging your children as individuals created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with their own sets of free will, but you as the initial guider, initial person to walk them through life. Once you realize that they are individuals with their own free will, you will be able to have the tools to correct. Did you hear what I said? Correct, because you are not creating, but you are correcting their behavior. In correcting behavior, in going through life as exemplary, as role model, then you need tools on language, the type of language you use in addressing your child will be different than the tools and the language you use when you think you are their God, when you act like you own them, when you act like I gave birth to you, I run your breath, I get to tell you how to breathe, I can do this, I can do that. So we have to start changing our mindset from the way we look at our children if we want to be able to address them as the way that Allah intended for us to be a guide for them. But at the end of the day, Allah guides whom Allah wants to guide. So you need to validate their emotion. You got to foster trust and help them process their feelings in a healthy way. And that's allowing the free will of God also by taqwa, by believing, by just drawing from dua, making dua for them since before even you conceive. This is where you need to pray. You need to choose the right partner even before we come to having the baby. And like my sister spoke in the beginning, that we were not trained on how to raise children. I was never trained. Nobody told me. I got married. I got thrown out of the country basically to live on my own and learn on my own. So it's by will of God that Nima, I can say Alhamdulillah, 4 beautiful children are doing well. But believe me, some of the things I've been through with my kids, I wish I knew better to save myself from the pain, to save myself from almost losing them because of cultural baggage, because of lack of training, lack of understanding. Now, should we learn before we get married on about how to live with the kids, what we should do? I think yes. In this modern day life where we have a lot on our plate, we need session like this and we need to go to classes for parenting, both religiously and educationally on the other educational areas. Skills of empathy, power of acceptance. Basically, power of acceptance has to do with connection through trust. The first trust is you as a parent trusting in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah has chosen you to give you this amana. You did not choose this child. You chose your husband. You fall in love or it's arranged marriage or however it happened, you had a choice. But you didn't have a choice of your children that you have, and they did not have a choice for you to have you as a mother. This is a special relationship that you must trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that this child with his uniqueness is gifted to me and trusted for me to take care of him. And so whenever you are going to look at that child, reflecting on the trust from Allah, you'll be able to take care of that trust as an amana. And that's powerful. Oftentimes, we don't reflect and think of our children as a trust on us. We just, like I said, act like we own them. We want them to be what we want them to be. They have to be doctors, they have to be engineers. And that's your perception of life. If your child comes to you and say, "Mommy, I wanted to be a garbage collector. I love that this neighborhood is clean. Every day the garbage truck comes through. It makes me happy that the way that they pick up all this trash." And sorry. So oftentimes when we don't trust in Allah, we tend to think that we are the driving forces of our children's success. We want them to be. It's nothing wrong with having ambition, but when a child comes to you with their sets of likes and dislikes, your trust in God will drive you towards listening to them. So it will help you with listening skills. And when you listen, you reflect, you'll be able to direct them to a better choices, not really putting their efforts down and showing them who wants to be a garbage collector. If you all in life, that's nothing. You are nobody. A doctor is somebody. And if your child grow up not being that doctor you want, guess what happens to their self-esteem? It draws all the way down to zero. Guess what happens to their healthy brain? Thinking I'm up to no good, I'm nothing. My mom think I should have been this, I should have done that. Because my mom didn't take from conception the trust that Allah has given me to raise this child is to listen to what Allah has for them, what Allah has for them in their kitab. Does that make sense, guys?
Absolutely, absolutely, it does.
There is a problem solving with positive intent. I don't know even why I'm not seeing my notes in this PowerPoint, but it's okay. Skills of positive intent, power of love. So again, when you take the trust and you make it one of the wheels that make your car of parenting engine goes to wherever life takes you, you will be intentional in your parenting. You will know that in intentionality, there is positivity, and in positivity, there is happiness. In happiness, you can find love. It's not the other way around. Some people think it's love and happiness, but I think you feel happy and you develop love. You just don't love and then develop happiness. It's just me thinking that way. Some people do it the other way. So I have some things I jot down, and this is towards the end of the slide. 10 effective conscious parenting strategies. Before I go through them, I have some list here. Acknowledge. How do you acknowledge your children's existence? Do you see them as a reflection of what you could have been, would have been, didn't become? That's a set of acknowledgement you need to practice. Guys, jot this down. Who encouraged you when you were growing up? Did anybody encourage your personal interests, or your career today is a result of your parents wanting you to be that person? Who has given you a feedback in your life? Uncle, auntie, someone who would call your attention to say, you know, this, that is not working. How about if you change this? Did you see that if you do this, this would have been okay, or it would have been better? Who is your role model? How do you model your behavior towards your children? How do you demonstrate anything as a parent? Trust. How do you demonstrate truthfulness? How do you even practice being honest and sincere? being a good citizen in your country? Are you the one who will, the child will bring them a paper from school to say the mommy school fees are 20 naira and you just ask your husband to give 30 and the child knows that you added that 10? Create how does that work for you? Do you support?
It seems like we've lost the slides. I think we're probably still seeing your screen, I guess. Right, we might have. Are you there, Doctor?
She got some
We might
issues.
have lost. Yes, probably. Very interesting talk. Wonderful slides. Hopefully she will be able to join back in. I can see she's still within in the meeting. It's just that probably network glitch.
Yeah.
Hopefully she's able to join back in. Doc was talking about 10 effective conscious parenting strategies, and she's listed I think 10 different qualities, and what she was talking about is how we need to reflect on those. She started talking about the need to kind of acknowledge, reflect, and identify, while we're growing up, who has acknowledged us. And then she talked about encourage, who was that kind of relative or parent who encouraged you while you're growing up with regards to something, specifically that you're interested in doing, for example, or someone who has given you specific feedback. Feedback, obviously, you could, obviously over our lifetime, we've received a number of different feedbacks. However, those that are effective, I could say, aren't as often as just general feedback. Rather, effective is, something that's really specific on how you could look at improving from whatever behavior or whatever action that you've taken. And then I think she was just talking about model, or rather create, I think. She talked about model, so unfortunately, she's still not back in. Prof, do you have anything to say before Doc is back?
Hello. Not much. I'm actually also consciously listening. It's a very powerful.
Hello?
And okay, Alhamdulillah.
Hello,
yes. Okay, Alhamdulillah. She's back. Yeah. We can hear you, Doctor.
Doctor is having some technical.
Yes. It's quite interesting. Yeah.
So
hello.
Remember, you could, if you're listening in.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now, Doctor. Doctor,
okay, let me hurry up. I'm sorry, wallahi, wuta aka dauke.
Yeah, well,
Nigeria
we know. Welcome to Nigeria. Yes.
So anyway, let me just run through it. It's important to consider what the children already know and can do and the learning goals for the specific situation. By remaining flexible and observant, we can determine the most effective strategy on helping our kids with total growth, successful life, or behavior.
Let's do that again, unfortunately. So while Prof's trying to join back in, remember you could use the chat box to type in your questions. Earlier, I noticed a number of people trying to use the raise hand option. You can type in any questions or any comments that you have in the chat box, and inshallah, we'll have those addressed. few slides back, I think Prof did mention, she asked a very important question of whether we should be trained on parenting skills before, say, for example, getting married and having kids. And I've been thinking about this really. It's, as just mentioned, a lot of the time people get married and all of a sudden they have kids and probably don't have those set of skills that they need in order to bring this children up. And what end up happening is you will learn, as you go. And I think that question that she asked, that she did ask, Prof, Doc, can you hear us?
Yeah.
It's like you're back in.
Yeah, I believe that today, in these times that we are in, consciously, before people get married or before having children, it is important that they learn those skills. Like consciously learn the skills or get to be educated on the skills.
So I'm back.
Well, thank you very much, Doctor. Okay, yeah.
So
you can go ahead.
I'm still sharing the screen or not?
I think we would. Yeah, if it's possible, we would like it. Yeah, because it has a lot of things there. Yeah. But if it can't be shared, we can go ahead and later we get it. Yes, later we can get the PowerPoint.
Here is the screen. Can you see the screen?
Not yet.
No.
Eh?
Not yet, yeah.
Yes, not yet.
I'm out again.
Screen maybe how about
it looks like it's trying to come up now, but
no worries. I think, Doctor, you can go ahead and then maybe we'll get the slides at a later time and share.
Okay, but kuna ji na dai for now.
Yes, we can hear you.
Ana ji na?
Yes.
Okay. Slide was I on? Okay. Okay. I'm there. All right. We talked about acknowledgement. Let me go to the page.
Yes. So I think it was just create or add where we lost you.
Okay. Encourage. Okay. Persistence and effort rather than just praising and evaluating what the child has done. So positive vibe drives happy hormones, dopamine. And so if we focus on happy thoughts and children are just like in their learning mode, always, forever. They are on a learning mode. But if we take it as, okay, this is how they make mistake and we have to punish. This is why you must understand the differences between discipline, correcting, and punishment. We are punishing the wrong behavior and the punishment is sending the wrong signal. Punishment is temporary. Correcting behavior goes a long way. So persistency in making effort to listen to your children, it will go better a long way than punishing them. And also you have to be careful about praising, because they can have dependency on that when you always have to praise a child. In early childhood, it's like you see kids, they just want to do things just to say, yeah, good job. So we have to rephrase that and make sure that they get the content, they get the understanding why this is being done, why this is not supposed to be done. Through evaluation, you'll be able to understand which direction the child is following and what stages in life is the child at the current situation, because every situation is different. Some situation they call for in appraising, some situation they call for teaching the content to understanding. That's your job. You are supposed to do that. That's given. But when you praise every behavior, a child think you have to give him that praise, and when you don't, then they don't understand that why am I not getting the praise? And then it confuses them in the next transitional stage in life. So we have to be really careful. It's not easy, but we would have to get to learn our children uniqueness as individuals to be able to do that. But how do we do that? We can give them specific feedbacks rather than general comments. You know, when you look at life, it generalizes praise, it generalizes verbal attacks. Even in our Hausa society, we tend to intimidate children by the way we just make them feel the presence of fear in us as parents. And then we praise them overly. And then there is no balance. So we have to learn, how do we give feedback to children? What is the use of feedback? Is it a use for them to internalize the reason why this life is going the way it's going? The reason why I have to eat healthy food so that I can grow healthy? The reason why I don't eat junk food so that it's not gonna, if I do, it will affect my health? The reason why I'm not supposed to push someone to get my way? The reason why if I didn't push, I don't get a yay, good job, it's still okay, I still don't push. So feedback drives attention, which directs neuroplasticity. It's a thing in the brain too that helps children determine right and wrong and practice right and wrong accordingly. It's very important. We don't need to, like, in Hausa we said, ko karkashin gado ka shiga kai laifi Allah yana kallon ka. That's different in kids. You have to devise a means to teach them to be independent, to be God-fearing, to do things right because it's the right things to do, not because they are intimidated by you as a mother or father, or because they are fearful of your reaction, ko bulala, So you must model the behavior, model the attitudes, the way of approaching problem and behavior towards others, showing children rather than just telling them. In kids, when you tell them, we see this in our classrooms. In the latest trend of teaching, science shows us, research shows us that there are different ways kids learn as adults. But the most effective way is when you use all the senses. God has given us these senses for a reason. God didn't only give us listening ears, so for you to keep telling and preaching. God also gave us a sense of smell. God gave us a sense of God gave us a sight. When you put it all together and use it to teach, it makes the retention of memory last longer. And not only retaining the memory, it enables the child to practice it when need be. I give you example. If you send your kid to Islamic school, Islamia, and you are telling them go to school and they're going to teach you Quran and they're going to teach you this dua, then in the Islamia, the teacher taught when the child needs to be safe. Is the child going to see the face of the teacher or their parents? Now I told you
Sorry, Doc, could you repeat that example, please? Because we've lost you for a bit there.
Can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you. We've lost you for a sec, a few minutes, or about a minute ago.
Hello?
Yeah. Well, while you were giving the example,
Anaji,
that's when we lost you. Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, you have to demonstrate the correct way or change. They may recall your face. When they recall you. Hello?
Yeah, we can
yes,
hear you now.
We can hear you now.
Okay, so when they recall your face, they may be able to recall that dua, and they may be able to implement that dua more than they recall the teachers in the Islamic school. So when you demonstrate the correct way of doing things, It's better from you as a perspective of parents as teachers than someone teaching them or demonstrating it to them, because most likely at home you are able to use all the senses to teach your kids than in school. Create or add challenges so that a task goes a bit beyond what the children can already do. So you have to, like I say, challenge your children to do more, challenge them to do more. Don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean push them to be overachievers because you think they have the capacity. You have to understand if they do have the capacity. And how do you address that? If you don't know your children, you are not in present or in their lives, you are just telling them what to do and assuming and expecting, but you are not really understanding where they are and where they need to be. So really in life, for children to be successful, you as a parent, you must do what we call developmentally appropriate practice. The first thing about that is for you to look back. Look back, not forward. When you look forward, you are ambitious. Your ambition will get you carried away. When you look back, because the child is behind you, you are the one who is advanced. You are the one who is already grown. You've been there, done that. But you look back. When you look back, you are able to calm down to their level. When you are at their level, you'll be able to understand them fully, not your reflection of them, not your understanding of them, their understanding, where they are and where do they need to be. How would you take them there? From their own uniqueness as individuals, not a reflection of what your house all inherited. It's not inherited hereditary practice. So that will get you a little leeway of success um, going forward. I want to ask you to also give assistance such as cue, hint, to help children walk on the edge of their current competencies. All kids work on a competence level. And when you give them assistance, you are helping them because the assistant is coming from you, their first teacher, not anyone else. And I give you example that may or may not make sense here. A lot of times in Hausa society, we live with the housemates. The way you treat your housemaid, your children are observing. And how do you give them cues and hint how to develop uh, like empathy in life is the way you treat others around you. The cue is not something by you winking your eyes or irin harara din nan ka daina kaza. No, it's your actions. How do you treat others from the household? How do you talk to your husband? How does your husband talk to you? A lot of times you see our boys growing up with aggression towards girls because sometimes in the household they witnessed or observed their dads disrespecting their mother in front of them, or they witnessed the mother disrespecting her kishia or elders or me aiki, and you see the kid will will in turn internalize this behavior and in life go forward with it. So provide information directly, giving children facts, verbal labels and other information related to reality of life, not superficially and not you thinking not practicing what you preach. You must do that. Avoid overprotection by not keeping information away from your children. Of course, there is appropriateness, like I said, developmentally appropriateness. You have to master it to see that is it the level where I think my child can handle this information? Oh no, my child cannot handle this information. I must come down to a level where they will understand, but not protecting them from knowing. I give you example. In the United States, for example, and I'm not saying for you to practice it, but I see the reason and the hikmah behind it. They talk to their children about sexual education. And a lot of Hausa people will not agree with this. I was never taught about this kind of education. I was never taught about, even me as a young girl, what is period, menstruation. They didn't teach me at home. They didn't teach me in school. I grew up when I started period being shy and even praying with it because I don't want people to think I have my period. But right now I can't do that for my daughter, and she will not be successful. I will set her to fail if I do that. So we can't do what our parents did for us or what was done to us in school. We must not keep vital, important information from our children. And the social media trend, we must be the ones to teach our kids about social media, about what's good, what's bad, what not to do, and allow them to make mistakes and bring the mistakes forward, not to punish them, but to teach them to learn from it. So all of this is really treating them the way you want to be treated. Give directions for children's action or behavior. When you redirect and give a clear, conscious instruction and direction, inshallah ta'ala, they will be able to master it and be successful. I really, the last, I want to read this to you. Bear with me. I'm going to open it because it's very important. And that will conclude my presentation. I have it. It's in Hausa. Someone wrote this. I didn't write it. And so all this credit goes to that person who wrote this. Oh, come on. It's very important. Maybe Kunganima social media, but I think it goes with all this, what we are doing. Okay, I got it. So someone wrote this, so I'm not to be credited. I don't know who did. They say, zagin yaro kullum yana sa lalacewa yaro. Tsangwama ga yaro na jawo masa rashin walwala. Kushe yaro kullum na sa shi ya raina kansa. Kunyata yaro na sa shi ya dinga ɗari-ɗari da kansa. Koya wa yaro juriya na sa shi ya zama mai haƙuri. Idan ana yaba yaro yakan tashi da kishin zuci. Idan ana kyautata wa yaro yakan sanya shi ya zama mai gaskiya. Tarbiyya ga yaro takan sanya shi ya zama amintacce. Idan aka amince da yaro yakan sanya shi ya ji daɗi. Sakin fuska ga yaro shi ke jawo shi cikin jama'a, saboda haka iyaye mu kiyaye. Allah ya shirya mana da zuri'an mu, amin. I got this from online. Somebody wrote it, and I thought it's useful to end my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hauwa, for that wonderful presentation. You've talked about a number of interesting things, and we've learned quite a lot. So we really appreciate you for sparing time to give us this talk. That presentation was amazing. The slides were wonderful. The content was rich. So we really appreciate it. You've talked about a number of things. You started talking about what really is conscious parenting. You gave an example where you said it's just like someone who's playing golf. You don't just hit the ball anyhow. You have to have focus, and the way that you hit it, the way that you keep practicing to ensure that you're becoming better at it. That's something that we should take into consideration when we're parenting our kids. You've talked about the different kind of learning states, where you talked about the executive, the emotional, and the survival, and reiterated the need for us parents to ensure that our kids within that executive state, to ensure that their learning is progressive, as well as the emotional state, to ensure their connection, where you talked about avoiding things like yelling, verbal reactions, and also ensuring that in our behaviors, the way that we treat those kids do not keep them within that survival state where it's just more or less fight or flight, where they kind of surrender and go into hiding and things like that. You've talked about three core areas: the culture, the trend, as well as the religion. And you rightly mentioned culture is usually static, so it's tend to would I say, become challenging sometimes. In terms of trend, obviously, there's changes there and new things coming. Coming up every day, as you've rightly mentioned, whether it's social media, whether it's what we eat, things are changing. The way farmers are growing foods is different. That's having effect on the kind of hormones and content within our blood and all sort of things. We've also talked about religion. Obviously, these three are three key core areas which we will have to take into consideration as we are kind of imparting knowledge, or we kind of ensuring that we're parenting, providing that conscious parenting to our younger ones. And there are a number of different points that you've mentioned in terms of parents as teachers, where you've given someone the opportunity to reflect on these. And I think obviously we'll try and get these slides to share with our participants today. But as I've mentioned, it's something, the talk, it has been very beneficial to each and every one of us, and we'll definitely reflect on each and every of this point that you've mentioned. You've talked about 10 effective conscious parenting strategies. We've gone into detail into how we need to acknowledge, encourage, give specific feedback, model, demonstrate, create or add, ask questions, give assistance, provide information, and also direction. And I think a very important thing that you've mentioned is something that I don't know, should I say it's lacking or not, but the ethics, that ethics where the example that you gave, lying in front of the kids, obviously those are things which we might take for granted, but at the end of the day would have a tremendous impact on the behavior of the children. Without taking much time, I think we're running out of time now. I'll open the floor for Q&A. I can see there's a number of people already wanting to ask questions. So thank you very much once again, Dr. Hauwa. We really appreciate your time. And I'll call on Awal Idris. Can you unmute yourself? Remember, you can also use the chat box if you have some questions or comments. You can always use that and we'll have those addressed. Awal Idris, can you ask your question, please? Awal Idris, are you able to ask your question? If not,
okay.
We'll move on to
Dr. Tariq, before Awal joins, please allow me to just ask maybe one or two questions so that maybe we can use the time. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Hauwa for this insightful session. And I will maybe perhaps make a request that we have a Hausa version of this session sometimes later, of course, because of the significance of this session and the impact it will yield to our people, especially in the North. So I think even if it is maybe informally on Facebook Live or something, maybe we will arrange later. I think it will be good if we can just translate this particular session like sometimes later in Hausa for wider audience. And regarding the presentation, I think I will also have some questions directly, related to the presentation as a young parent, especially for us who are living outside the country. There are some challenges that I think we face, which maybe those in Nigeria may not really face them. Sometimes we are alone in the house, and really maybe there are no other children that the kids will interact with. So you'll find that maybe it's only the mother or you when you are back home that they will be able to interact with. So that makes it like difficult for them sometimes to start speaking in early, instead of maybe to start speaking in 2 years or even less than that. Maybe sometimes you can see a child up to 3 years, but still struggling to speak well. So what is the advice here? Like what method should parents adopt maybe to help the kids? This is the first question. I have 3 questions. The second question is, I heard, I think in the presentation, you mentioned that we should not punish the kid like by maybe beating or something. We should find a better way of dealing with issues. sometimes you try to solve issues with children as much as you could, as patient as you could be, but they will not obey your instructions until you plug them. If you plug them, they will just obey. So in that situation, what should we do? Like, should we just allow them to do what they want, or we should, I would like to have your view on this. And sometimes, I think the last question, you realize that particularly with children, there is some inherent like anger, especially like when they are watching television or they are doing something and you try to maybe take the remote from them, you will see the anger, visibly in them. So sometimes you just have to allow them to do what they want, So in that situation also, what are we supposed to do to help those children? I think these questions. Thank you very much. I hope if you speak them all, I can repeat.
Yeah, I think I like to answer the questions in like not a lot, and then I'm not gonna remember.
Yeah.
But before answering the questions, I did share the slides, and in addition to my slides, I gifted you guys the slides of Professor Zenurain that I did a function here at Kano. Yazo ya mana lecture and ya bani slides in shi, and they are talking about similar what I was discussing in more almost 100% Islamic perspective. So the slides are there from him and the ones that I just did for everyone to have.
Thank you very much.
So I think the first question you asked was regarding you living overseas and not having the support of extended family to where the kids will be able to interact.
Yeah.
And it's just you and your wife, or someone who's just wife, and how will the kids learn their speech to develop. So I can advise you to adopt books, a lot of books. If you engage in with your kids in reading books, it supplements the adults that are missing around the kids. You can bring books, child or children's appropriate reading, where it talks about family system and all other things in like a social studies kind of area, and that will supplement. And also you can develop a play group with like-minded people. We people that like we are living overseas with our kids, we have to get out of our shells, comfort zones, and look for people like having the same problem and try to help ourselves solve our issues. When you look for people like foreigners who have the same issues, you can develop a play area in your house, some kind of something to do together, and they can have friends in that relationship, and that will take care of it. That's what that we did. We will usually go to the masjid and develop friendships with Sudanese, this is all people like United Nation, and we have programs, weekends. We take the kids to the park, they see each other and play. It doesn't have to be your immediate family members, but also intentionality is very important. Like I said, when you get married and you have a wife and a husband and you intend to have family, just like when you are getting married, you prepare for kinds and chelepe, and then your living room, bedroom, everything is there. What do you do to prepare for the child you are going to have? Do you have a playroom? Do you buy books? Do you start to find out what does kid do in their first stages of life? So find an area in your house that you will really make it special for your kid. So that's their play area. That's the area where you spend time together. And slowly and surely you are building that area with the books and toys, learning. You will see that it takes care of a lot of things that you may be missing. The second question, maybe the third one, is about kids not listening and you have to beat them up. When you beat a child or you intimidate them, you are instilling fear. When they stop immediately the behavior, unwanted behavior, they are most likely not necessarily learning why, but they are fearful. So they quit because they don't want to be beaten. But is that what you want from them, to stop because they are intimidated and fearful? or would you rather for them to learn that so they don't repeat the behavior, not in your presence, in somewhere else? So we have to find tools that will help us. Actually, it's true, Rome wasn't built in a day. It's something you have to transition. You have to transition yourself and start to see. I'm really counseling a lot of people, and I ask them, even teenagers, she will say, one of the parents, this is what he does, da, 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 da. I say, okay, did you ever sit with him and talk with him and ask him questions? What is wrong with you? What is going on? What can I do to help you? So even when you talk about the third or the last question, when kids are watching TV or playing with their tablets and you want to take it away and they start crying, is because you did not prepare them. You did not transition them. You have to learn what is transition in kids. Even you as an adult, you don't want, when football comes on, and you boys, you know how you are with football. You don't even want to pay attention to the wife. And everything has to wait. I remember my husband, he will be watching news, and that time our little apartment, the sink where I have to do dishes is right by the TV. Allah, he won't let me do my dishes because the water running will bother him from listening to what he wants to listen. So I had to, find my time to do my dishes. And so you don't want to be interrupted. So find transition for kids, prepare them. I'm going to give you the tablet. Okay, this show is coming, it's your favorite. It's 20 minutes. Do you know what is 20 minutes? This is how it is. I'm going to arrange this in front of you. I'm slowly going to be taking one at a time. When I come to take it, I'm going to say, okay, there are two left, one more. By the time I come to this one, we should be ready to go. It's time for dhuhr, it's time for dinner. The show is over. We will watch the TV later. Will they cry? Yes. Will they learn from it? Yes. Because you are teaching them transition. It may take a week before they get used to it, but believe me, it goes way much more effective than beating them or just taking away and just saying, "Tafka bani guri, ya ta kuka ya tashi."
Yeah, okay, Doctor, thank you very much. Just a follow-up on this. So is it like good for us to be allowing them to be watching all those cartoons on YouTube? Because somewhere I heard like those cartoons, they are like affecting their emotional, and behaviors. Like instead of like the behaviors they take from you as a parent, perhaps they may learn some things from the cartoon which you may not like. So is it in order to allow them to be watching those things? Is it helping their developmental mindset or something?
It depends on the child.
The network, I think, of Doctor is...
Yes, unfortunately, it's glitch. That seems to be a
problem is with the overstimulation. Your brain the brain of the kids can get over by the pitch of the sound. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now maybe
yes,
you can start
now.
again. You can start again.
Connection.
You can start again now.
Okay, so I was saying it's the stimulation, overstimulation caused by the light of the screen affecting their vision and thereby sending signals to the brain of stress, and they don't know how to regulate stress. So you as the parent, you need to know when is enough and how to regulate that. And then the stimulation of the pitch of the noise, the sound, the quality of the sound coming from the cartoon, maybe overstimulating the brain cells and maybe affecting how they are hearing. And then sometimes you see the behavior of the child before and during
yes,
and after fluctuating. Maybe they become irritable, from watching certain things. So you have to kind of look at it and see what show or what is the limit and what is better and what is the content. Are they learning from it? As much as you can, try to replace the screen time with the person, like, one-on-one time. Take them to the park, let them explore nature, do all of that. But we cannot take away the screen 100% from them and then wanting them to be technologized.
Okay,
but we have to control it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq. I hope I have not taken all the time for the questions
No,
today, but I believe we are all benefiting from the questions.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think those are wonderful questions, really. And I'm sure quite a lot of participants definitely would have similar questions. I myself, I think some of those questions that you've asked are questions that have been bothering me. So thank you very much for that. Probably I might ask some towards the end, but I'll let some of our participants ask some of their questions. I can see Jibril Sammani Usman have a question. Jibril, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Yes, thank you very much, the organizers and Dr. Hauwa, for this insightful presentation. I have one comment and two questions quickly. The comment is I'm coming from the medical perspective. The areas where Dr. Hauwa discussed about the issue of multisensory teaching, the issue of cueing and neuroplasticity. What I had just wanted to add is because it's an area I worked during my PhD, though in a diseased population. So what I wanted to say is really this aspect is being proven by many researchers to really work on the brain, because there are many millions of brain cells in the brain. So the neuroplastic changes keep taking place. So especially for children, when we can inculcate some of these things, it will really improve their learning, because those are the main rudiments for brain to function in terms of issue of learning. That's medically from the medical perspective. That's just my addition. So my question to doctor is one, I know in medically in our researches, we have specifics in terms of proving that maybe the issue of using visual cueing or auditory cueing or feedbacks on specific functions in human beings, especially disease population. But I don't know in children. Do we have researches or something that has been proven that if we want to improve on a particular behavior, we need to work on so maybe relating to visual cueing, verbal cueing, or auditory cueing? That's what I want to know. Then second question, for children that are, for example, less than 2 years of age, that cannot really understand when you tell them, stop this, do this. They don't know the reason why. What method do you use apart from beating or shouting or intimidating? What will you use now? Because they cannot understand if you tell them, they don't know the reason why you say they should stop, because they are not at that age yet. So as a specialist in childhood, maybe there are some ways we can use to show them that. Thank you very much. These are my submissions.
Thank you for that comment and your questions. Doctor, do you want to respond to that?
Yes, so thank you for the input from the scientific point of view. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not in depth with the science stuff, but we touch a little bit because we had to study the, psychology of the children and what have you not. So I think when you talk about sensory and verbal cues, in the way that we learned it is more towards probably children with disabilities, and so we learn a lot for how to cater to children with autism and other, like, developmental disabilities. So that's more towards that. But in generally, all kids can adhere and adapt to cues, all different kinds, due to, sensory and stimulants. So it depends all on the individual child. I think it's like I said, it's not one size fits all. But if a child, a parent comes in with a specific need, then as an early childhood expert, we can look at what is the need and what is the cause of whatever it is they needed, and maybe research, or from our expertise be able to give them action plan, what they could try to see if it works, if it doesn't, do this and that. Like for example, with kids with ADHD, you see a lot of children with attention deficit disorder, and given the fact that this is behavior, it's not something like a disease in the brain, but it's a behavior that stems from chemical reaction of the brain or stimulus from the environment. we are able to factor in different things to help them in the classroom to be successful or even at home. I don't know if that answers your question. But the last question about kids who are like what do you call them? Infant, kenan. They are not at the toddler stages or infant toddlers. Believe me, they do understand, they do hear, they do listen. Like what we were taught when you are changing a baby's diaper, for example, you just don't come and just put the baby down and just open their legs and just open the diaper and just bring wet clothes and just dump it on them. I mean, imagine as an adult if somebody did that to you. Just come and be like, it's time to eat, grab your neck, shove you to the place, put you down, and shove the table for you and the food to eat. It's a process. So the same thing, the way we learn and the way we are teaching is kids can feel, kids can hear. It's us who think they cannot understand, but they do. And that's how they learn. Every day you are talking to them, they start with this bubbly noises. Comes Baba, comes Mama. And at the time when they are bubbling, you think it's useless, it's no use. But that what translates to Mama. And that Mama keeps on adding and they develop words and sentences. So when you come to change their diapers, for example, you be like, oh, you just did a number 2 or you just did poo-poo. I'm going to change your diaper. Now I'm going to, use this cloth. It's cold. Oh no, it's hot. Preparing them, they are listening, you are playing with them. You see how their comfort level is. I challenge you all to try, even if you don't have infants. Tell somebody to try this for a week. When you're going to change your baby's diaper or wash them, talk to them, do a transition, and see how in the beginning you just grab the baby and just put them in the water to wash them, and they unexpectedly feel the coldness of the water, how they will react, cry. But when you slowly transition them into that, they start to hear the pitch of your voice and they can make up something that gives them that notion that something is happening, and it tends to relax them. Similarly, when they are doing something wrong, you are telling them, no, we don't do that. This is what we do. Oh, you are crying because you are hungry. I noticed that you are hungry. Let me get you some food. They listen to you. They trust you. They know the food is coming. Next time they see you, they will be excited. Food is coming instead of crying, you don't understand me. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you very much for that wonderful explanation. I'll call on Dr. Maria Garba. Dr. Maria has been a key figure to the AYMP as well. Dr. Maria, can you unmute yourself and ask your question or make your comment?
Yes, I did, Dr. Tariq. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Hauwa. Thank you very much for a very insightful presentation. So mine is a question, given that we're living outside of the country, so living in the UK, and perhaps yourself, I'm sure you brought up your kids in the US. So what I tend to understand is our children kind of in some situation feel they have a missed identity. So, and this is as a result of the difference in the culture, in the morale, in the people they get themselves mixing up with. So, and they kind of struggle with that. So what advice can you give us as parents who are striving every day to see that we're bringing up children with sound, moral, Islamic culture, with the religion? At the same time, they tend to get mixed up with people who kind of did not understand where they're heading to in terms of the friends they make in school and so on. And then when they stay for so long outside Nigeria, we only maybe visit Nigeria for some while, they kind of see themselves as a bit detached from the people as well. So I'm sure the children struggle with this two phases in terms of where do they belong to? So what advice can you give parents in terms of how they can help their children to understand the current situation, at the same time to value their culture and value the situation that they find themselves in?
So I'm gonna respond to you with experience that I have. It's not something from books I have read, but it's what I've been through and what I worked for me and didn't work for me and what I had to learn the hardest way. So my advice to any parent out there raising their children overseas is for them as parents to have a clear conscience and honest, sincere reflection of who they are and be proud of themselves, not thinking the grass is greener on the other side, and have a, like, a system where you are carrying yourself with the pride of how Allah created you from where He created you. And it starts from, for example, in this society, we are always thinking about bleaching ourselves in this society. We are favoring light-skinned people, even before we cross the ocean to another man's land. In our homes here in Nigeria, we have these issues of thinking white is better than black. This is a what do you call it? A slavery of not us appreciating the way Allah created us. So going forward as a parent, now that you are listening and you can share it to other people, we have to cleanse our hearts and have the best of the intention to know that God doesn't create ugly. And God created us from a place where it's pleasing to Him and is pleasing to us. We take pride as Africans. We take pride as Nigerians. We are proud of who we are. We are blacks. We came from Africa. This is who we are. When you have that, you will see the way you carry yourselves in your household with your children is different. Number two is surround yourself with people from your areas. If it's Nigeria, if it's Africans, don't go living in the middle of Arabs and all your kids will just see is Arab people. And then they learn Arab culture because you think religion is Arab. I have to go to masjid where Arabs are. No, you need to find people from African, tribes to connect with them. Go to your kids' school and show them who you are. Do cultural day. Find out in the classroom of your kids if there are things they can do to bring their culture. Do not talk negatively about your country or your culture. My last born, who is 25, 26 now, one day we were discussing, it's like, Muhammad, why don't you ever want to go to Nigeria? He said, all you ever talk about Nigeria is negative. Why would I want to go? He's right. We sit down, all we talk about is flies, no electricity, this one cheating, this one, that one doing that. We're not discussing Nigeria like Disney World. Why would he want to go? So even though but we were not talking with him, we were having discussion with either my husband or other people.
Right. I think we've lost you again. I can see there are more people wanting to ask a question. Hopefully, Doc will join back. Our network would improve. It's a very interesting session, and I know a lot of people have a number of interesting questions, especially when you live abroad. There's quite a lot of challenges. As most of you have rightly mentioned, in terms of the environment that you're living in, the people that you're kind of interacting with, the lack of that extended family. But I think Prof. Has rightly mentioned, provided some suggestions, such as the need to start reading. If you're not doing that already with the kids, that would supplement that lack of extended family interaction, that kind of peer-to-peer learning. I actually have another question, which is very much in line with what Dr. Maria just asked, whether, I don't know, whether Prof has any comment to make on this, or any, maybe Dr. Yakubu, in terms of language, or even Dr. Maria, who just asked the question before Dr. joined back in. What do you think about language? Because what I see is quite a lot of people, when they travel abroad, they kind of speak the language of the land. And so when you talked about identity, Dr. Maria, you said the kids sometimes lose that identity of who they are. I feel for me, one of that identity could be the language. If they're able to speak the language, even when they travel for holidays, they can easily interact with their kind of relatives, with their, if they have any friends that they speak to online. Given that they're able to speak that language. But if they are not able to speak the language, then it becomes a little bit more difficult. And so that lack of identity kind of prevails. What do you think about that? Okay, you're back now, Doc. I don't know whether you've had...
but we are making it.
Yes, we are. I was just commenting in terms of language. What do you think about, do you think language has impact when Dr. Maria talked about that identity? A lot of us tend to speak a different language of the land, and so the kids are not able to speak the language, and then it becomes difficult when they travel to kind of interact with other kids back home. What do you think about that?
In fact, Doctor, which language are they supposed to learn? Like Dr. Tariq, so she can answer all together. Which language are we supposed to teach the kids? Our own mother language, or in the language of the country we are living?
No, I think for me, I speak Hausa at home. I think the kids need to understand that they're coming from somewhere, because when they go to school, they interact with kids from everywhere. And so it becomes, as Dr. Maria just mentioned, it becomes difficult for them to have that kind of identity. But given that I speak Hausa, they understand Hausa, sometimes it might be a bit difficult for them to, when they start going to school, because, that we just speak in Hausa. So their kind of progression at school in the first 1 or 2 years becomes a little bit delayed compared to their peers. But I feel, whenever I travel home, they can easily interact with their cousins, with their relatives, and, when they speak on the phone. So they know that they have that kind of identity that, sometimes, my kid asked me, why don't we have Christmas tree at home? I said, well, all sort of things for them to have that identity. Okay, this is who you are, and this is where you're from.
Okay. So let Dr. Hauwa comment on.
Yeah, so actually, I think having being multilingual is a privilege, and there is a recent research just done not long ago by a community called 0 to 3. If you Google it, 0 ZERO to 3, and they just did a research on the effect of multiple language on babies, even on kids 0 to 3, and they found out a brain activity of children who have more than one language. So they are exploring that now, encouraging and paying money to early childhood centers to support multilingual children, support their language. So we can't take away from that. What is, we have to focus, we must reflect on the Islamic identity to where we need to find our masjid around us and be involved with the masjid. And then we need to find the cultural identity. And when you don't have your cultural people around you, it's much more difficult. People who live in Europe, like London, by now they have many Hausa people. My sister who resides in London, all her kids speaks Hausa fluently, even though they were all born and raised in London. Because like Dr. Maria said, she has her household routine where everyone speaks Hausa at home. And when you go out, you can speak whatever. In school, you are speaking English. So bottom line is not really the language, the culture. For me, my own personal experience is how you carry yourselves with pride and how you celebrate yourself as a Hausa man or Igbo or Yoruba in regard of you living outside Nigeria. And when you celebrate your culture, you celebrate your religion, your children will see this. It becomes part of the culture. I mean, culture also is a total some way of people, how they live, how they eat, the food too. You can't just go buying them hamburger every day And just when you do tuomi or kuka, talking about kuka in a derogatory way or not making it presentable, you need to sit down around the food, traditional, give history, make them feel belong, like a sense of belonging. And even when you do all of this, I hate to bust your bubble, they're still going to have identity crisis just because they are not functioning in the environment where supports their cultural foundations. And we can't really thrive without cultural foundation. Culture is what tells us who we are. It what gives us a sense of pride. Our kinky hair, we have to love our hair. Otherwise, you're gonna go through life thinking, why is my hair like this? I have to put relaxer to make it soft. Why does white man have soft long hair? Why is my skin dark? Why is she light? Once you start appreciating your culture and teaching them, like you can see right now, every culture outside the African, I don't want to say that because it's not a research. Let me rephrase it. In the United States, they are supporting cultural foundations to where now every school you go, books have to support culture. You see books talking about blacks, agents, everything. If you are talking about early childhood education, our adults in the home area, we have to have those representing all tribes, all cultures, Asians, Africans, because we can't have dolls that only showcase Barbie and white and long hair, because then it's telling our children like you don't belong. But when you come back home to the to the Nigeria, then you see other people trying to just copy the Western world, trying to speak like them, trying to just dismiss their accent. People will make fun of you because you have an accent. And you should take pride of your accent. You should want it to be Nigerian. You should want to speak like Hausa person. Not everybody has to be Englishman. So when you as a parent raise your kids with this confidence, and carrying yourself as proud of who you are, it helps them deal with their identity crisis.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll call on Asmao. Asmao, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question? Asmao, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Assalamu alaikum. And thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. Mine is a comment, like a request to add to what Dr. Woodell requested earlier. Please, if you are given the Hausa session, can you please consider making it maybe a series where you will break down the different developmental milestones at different ages, what they are, the mistakes parents make, and how to address those mistakes. Because there are so many things we don't pay attention to because we don't even know they exist. And here, maybe because of time, everything is you didn't really break it down. And I think we need to, if we know that, then we will be able to do better. And then also on the issue of early exposure to electronic gadgets, does it really have any advantage? Because maybe the conditions might be country dependent. Like I know that in some parts of Europe, it is not allowed completely. Even if you go to pediatric visits, the doctors are completely against that, at least for the first 3 years. So what will you say about that? Thank you.
Yeah, so definitely, there are, like I said in my presentation, sequential different stages of life, different growth stages. Definitely, we can adjust and digest the topic to cater to specific age group. If you go to the chat, I think I successfully uploaded the Professor Zenurain's lecture. Wallahi, he detailed all this, what you just asked, in different stages of life, all the way through adolescence, Islamic perspective. It's a very good presentation. I urge you all to copy it and to take it and look at it and make it a point of discussion between your families. And the second thing is, the way current trends are going, we just learning through mistakes. COVID came and we learned from it and we didn't know about it before. And so the way we are um, going about, harvesting our food with the chemicals producing cancer and doing all of this, we don't know things, we think they are good for us, and then later on we find out they are more harm, more dangerous to us than they are good to us. So the same thing in early childhood or in family issues and raising kids. Now there is a research that shows that this stimulation from electronic gadget is not good for the kids. So some parts of the world, like you said, in parts of Europe, they are really taken away from that, saying it's not good. Part of the problem, when you look at the research, is has to do with radiation. Some part of it, not entirely. So there are a lot we have to read. We have to be accustomed to the dangers, the downside. Everything has, positive and negative. You have to weigh it. At the end of the day, no one is going to be able to tell you as a parent what you should do. You would have to make an informed decision about what you can do and make it in a way that is achievable for your family and for your goal. And also, my last advice on that would have been, don't just yank something away like that. Make a transition. It depends on the age of the child. If a child is a preschooler, for example, they are at the age where they can make sense of a situation. So sit down and transition them slowly taking away that until you successfully, achieve a goal where they are understanding why this has to go away, instead of rapidly taking something away without processing the why. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And we've got, thank you very much, Dr. Tahir Mainika. I think you did make a comment earlier as part of
Dr. Tariq, we have really exhausted Dr. Kaka Hauwa.
Yes.
I know we have already exceeded our time.
Yeah, so we'll just get this last comment and then last question, and then I think we'll call it a day. Probably you might have, I think, or two to add. Given that I've already called on him, Tahir Mainika, do you want to quickly make your comment or question, and then we'll call it a day?
Actually, the session is very, very useful.
Okay, thank you so much for giving the opportunity. Thank you as well, Dr. Hauwa, for this educative session. Actually, my question, Dr. Mari, have done justice to it. What I wanted to say earlier than now was the chat session is closed and has been disabled. We were trying to make comment through the chat session, but we were not able to do that. And now I can see still there are people raising their hand. Maybe I will let that opportunity for them to ask their questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We do always kind of request people to use their names rather than using some different names. So probably you could have a comment or two to add. Thank you very much, Dr. Hauwa. We really appreciate your time. It's been really interesting session. We've learned a lot, and I think this for us would be a guide. It's not something that we just just go after this. We'll keep on revisiting this YouTube video. We'll definitely upload it on YouTube, and with the slides as well. We'll have a look at the other slides that you've shared. And thank you very much. We really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll see you in the near future for a more extensive session. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Of course, to Prof as well. Prof has spent, as I've mentioned earlier, Prof has spent quite a number of years supporting, mentoring us. Again, we really appreciate your time as well.
I think Dr. Tariq, I will not say much. Of course, we have said all that we should. Maybe the only thing I would like to close with is a question, also to take the opportunity again. If Dr. Hauwa will advise us, at what age are children supposed to be enrolled in school? Should we just worry about, sometimes we are very quick to send them to school, maybe at even 2 years, 3 years. Sometimes you will see some people will delay them until 4, 5 years, even some to 6 years. So what is the best strategy to adopt?
Honestly, it depends on the family and what they are able to do, because in modern day society where you have both parents going out to work because of economic situation, they don't have a choice but to take their kids to some kind of school. Now, there are many types of schools. Some people are able to afford a nanny. Some people go to a play group, preschool, or a daycare, or what have you not. But we know that our conventional school do not take kids until certain age. So if a situation is like that, you don't have a choice. You can take your kids to school at whatever age that will fit your family lifestyle. But ideally, if you are asking me from my point of view, raising children, I can see differences in behaviors and in connection with my kids from the ones who never been to daycare and the ones who have been to daycare. Now, in the beginning of life, my twin boys, Hassan and Hussein, I was working, I was a student, my husband was a student. We put them in a daycare and we had challenging behaviors. And then my daughter comes along, she never attended a daycare. I was able to cater to her needs, and the emotional attachment and the social emotional well-being was completely different, because when your kids go to school, they will learn from other kids' behaviors. They will not be able to be catered to their needs at early ages. But now this has nothing to do with learning, because the brain functions the same way, depending on the way Allah has enabled the brain to function on individual kids. But science told us kids' brain rapidly they absorb at early stages than earlier in later in life. So if you are able to sit at home, and if you would be able to teach your kids and for them to learn from you, that is the essence of parents as teachers. United States is known for research, and they are known for really following through with the research. The reason why they created the program Parents as Teachers is because they believe nurturing children from grassroots, from early stages, tends to produce a better adult later in life, whereby adult will be a law-abiding citizen and grow up to give back to society. And so even when the situation of economic disproportionality appeared, they opened a section in schools where they call it early head start. And in these sections, they integrated some kind of education to where babies and other, young children needs can be met, even though if their parents are not able to meet their needs. So my advice would have been, if a parent is able to hold back their kids and nurture them at home to give them that solid foundation, I will suggest to do that. Last thing is, as you see, when a mother has a baby, there is this thing in the breast called cholesterol. And I want the doctors to help me explain it if time permits. That cholesterol in the breast is the best medicine that a baby could ever have. And breastfeeding supports the emotional and brain health of a baby. And so when the baby has a time to spend with the mother, it does something scientifically to the overall well-being of that baby. And so even they have a research on with the mice, where they have one box with a mouse that was staying with the mother, and another one, the mouse didn't have a parent or a mother. And later on, when they digest the brain, they found depression in this one mouse that didn't have a mother. And this one mouse have a healthy brain function. So imagine if you take your child to a nursery somewhere, although they will not be alone, but they are never going to receive that nurturing care, that warmth, that home feel good thing, in the school environment. So definitely it may take away from that emotional well-being. So if you are able, stick with your kids as long as you can.
All right. Thank you very much.
Naam?
I think it's homeschooling. It's there are a lot of resources now that you can use to do homeschooling.
A lot of parents,
because in US here it's allowed.
Yeah.
You can do that, yeah.
Definitely, yes.
MashaAllah, that's really insightful. Thank you very much. Naga Hajia Hauwa Umar Aliyu Itama. Are you there? Doctor, do you want to say a word or two before we close? It seems. Hello, Doctor. Maybe she is muted, though she's a co-host. I made her a co-host. So maybe in Batakusa, we can just conclude. Prof is there?
Yeah, hello, I'm here. Yeah, I just, the only thing I would just add is to thank Dr. Hauwa. Very insightful, very informative. I've learned a lot in spite of all the experiences I've had. Still, and we'll definitely share this video with our children who are young parents now, and they would really benefit from it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Dr. Hauwa. We really appreciate this kind gesture. We have learned a lot. This is a transformative lecture to all of us, you know.
So, thank you.
We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And inshallah, we will keep in touch for the Hausa version that we are proposing. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I am the one, like I have joined the lecture, even though I joined late, but it was really nice. I must say, Dr. Kaka, Honorable Takwara, has just did it, as usual.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Thank you
very much. And on behalf of all
the Doctor, thank you.
Yeah, Dr.
Wow, thank you very
much. Thank
all
you.
Right, assalamu alaikum. Bye.
All right. So, Dr. Tariq, you can conclude your session. We have finished.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone. Really, I think learned quite a lot, as rightly mentioned earlier. Remember, we can continue discussion on our social media platforms. As we've said earlier, there are a number of sessions that we've had in the past. Highly recommend that you have a look at those. So thank you very much once again, and do have a good day.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Salaam alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
You can also be part of it as a mentor or student. Join the Ariwa Youth Mentorship Program on Telegram, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. AYMP, together we can be great.